Yo, 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 yo. Yo, yo. What's good with it? It's homie Mac. Music, art, culture, knowledge. Reporting live from the Dogon. Each one, teach one. Peace and love. I hope all is well. Yeah. First off, I want to say R.I.P. Young Dolph. If you don't know, Young Dolph was gunned down yesterday in Memphis. A lot I want to say about it, but I don't really feel like speaking on it. It's almost like it's almost like you see life cycle. You see certain life cycles just repeating itself, and there's a rabbit hole of a rabbit hole. You can go into a whole rabbit hole when you think about the dynamics that play into that and why certain maladaptive behavior exists. But yeah, I guess in some ways I am going to touch on that. I wanted this episode of Mac Minutes. Thumbs up, give me the likes. Thumbs up, give me the likes. It's not going to be a very long one, but I wanted to talk about Monster Kody, Sayika Shakur, aka Monster Kody. I learned a lot of things from Monster Kody. I read Monster, his autobiography. I've seen numerous interviews with him on MACK videos. Just different things like that. Unfortunately, Monster Kody died earlier this year. I actually, just to show you how sincere I am, I donated not a whole lot of money, but a respectable amount of money to his memorial, his GoFundMe. Yeah, but let's talk about it. Monster Kody, Sayika Shakur, aka Monster Kody, because I feel like he ended up transcending. I believe he became more spiritually minded, and he transcended the moniker that is Monster Kody. Even though I think he still carries some of those demons with him, he transcended the idea of the nefarious nature of Monster Kody. I feel like he transitioned that. He became bigger than that. He became an activist, an advocate for humans, an advocate for black people. He liked to call African Americans. He liked to call us New Africans. But yeah, I think he's a very interesting figure, very polarizing figure. One of the things that I learned from him, like he just kind of showed me how essentially black boys, and it's not even necessarily that he showed me these things that I'm about to mention, but he accentuated it. He gave me a greater context for certain things that I knew. He helped me look at it more in depth. He was talking about being a little boy and how much he idolized the Crips, how much he idolized Raymond Washington, how much he idolized Tookie Williams, how much he idolized just different members of the factions, the different members of the different factions of the Crips, and it showed me how specifically black boys, they need an ethos to buy into. They need a cultural narrative to be centered in. They need a rites of passage. It's just unfortunately the rites of passage that they're getting more often than not leads to criminality. It leads to maladaptive behavior. It leads to death, murder, exploitation of the proletariat class or the working class or poor, indigent. I want to say he was very well read in Marxism. He spoke a lot about Frantz Fanon, specifically his book, The Wretched of the Earth. He talked about classism. He talked about how, essentially there's a bourgeoisie or an elite class, and they they leave crumbs for everybody else to fight over. And in essence, a lot of people I feel like ultimately rich people control the narrative. They are behind the media. They fund different things. Ultimately, I think a lot of black people not even necessarily just black people, but a lot of people who are the proletariat, the lumpen proletariat. A lot of times they create the culture that mainstream buys into. But the people that fund the narrative oftentimes aren't from that culture. They're not from that indigent caste of society. And he just pretty much he shined light on the fact that there's a lot of classism that goes on amongst poor people, even amongst themselves. It's like there's a fight to appear bourgeoisie or elite. Even at one point, he was talking about how there was classism even amongst the Crips. How you had the dudes from 6-0, dudes from A-Trade Gangster, who were big money makers and hustlers, and it got to the point where they didn't want to kick it with other dudes from the set because they felt like they were gonna rob them for what they had, for their wealth, you know. And one of the things that I think is very interesting is how it seems as though the proletariat or the lumpen proletariat, and by lumpen proletariat I mean like extremely poor, without any type of socio-political resonance. They just exist. A lot of times those classes, they manifest the worst forms of capitalism, you know, towards one another. They feed on one another. And the thing that's sad is just seeing how there's a whole infrastructure that benefits off the poor's poverty in their mind, that benefits off their criminality, that benefits off of their mistakes. The prison industry, you know, but I think it said it costs more money to send somebody to prison. It's cheaper to send somebody to college than to prison, but I guess the long-term investment is better to send them to prison. I think Master Kody was a very sharp man. I think he had a very well-versed understanding of Marxism, Leninism. I feel like he had a very... I liked how he was able... in a lot of ways, he functioned like Huey. Huey P. Newton. Pretty much he was able to break down a lot of complex political dynamics, social realities that exist. He was able to... I don't want to say dumb it down, but he was able to simplify it. So maybe the people who necessarily weren't scholars or readers were able to process it. One of the things I thought was dope about him was he was a lifelong learner, and in a lot of ways he was self-taught. He taught himself how to read. When he dropped out of school in I want to say middle school, maybe 7th or 6th grade, he didn't really know how to read or write. You know, but when he went to prison, he learned how to read. He actually ended up learning Swahili. You know. For the Damu is Swahili for blood, Kiwe is Swahili for Crip. Oh yeah, just random. But he learned Swahili. He got his he was introduced to Islam. I think later on his spiritual beliefs shifted. I believe I want to say he may have been agnostic at one point. But yeah, like he was very self-taught. You know, he was a vociferous not what's the word I'm looking for. He was just, his personality was loud, it was vociferous, it was really energetic, but there was a narrative behind his words. He wasn't just talking to be talking. Like there was depth to his conversation. I like the fact that he was self-taught. He pretty much took his own socio-political education into his own hands, you know. And the thing that I thought was really interesting was, I think at one point in an interview he said, you know what, I never would have joined the Crips, but for this day, I guess some kid had took some change from, I guess a kid was going to shake him down. And you know, Monster Kody, I think he was in the 6th grade, 5th or 6th, he was scared. So he lied and told the boy that he had no change. But I guess he didn't think he had any change, but I guess he had like a nickel or something in his back pocket. And the boy beat the brakes off of him. And he said after that moment, that was like one of the first times in his life where he felt like, I need protection. I need to have alliances to quell this anxiety that I'm feeling, to combat any more potential assaults. So he ended up joining A-Trade Gangster, I think later that night. Yeah, later that night or the next day, something. You know, his put on was very, you know, he got jumped. his put on was violent. I think they pulled up on some a blood set. I want to say the brims. I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. But he pulled up on him and just emptied a pistol grip. Started busting at him. He said he wasn't sure if he killed anybody, but he just busted. Just empty. They told him don't come back to the car or don't come back until it's empty. So what do you do when you're 11, 12 years old? Someone tells you, here's this pistol grip and let it off. If you better come. When you come back, it better be empty. So yeah, it's. I think a lot of times we want to say, oh, you guys are so egregious. These gangbangers are evil. When really no, they really want to have. They really need what's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's just fundamental things they want that all humans want. It just unfortunately they sway into a dark path to get it. What else was I gonna say? I like how one of the things that Huey Newton always said was Dr. Huey P. Newton. He always said everything is political, and in a lot of ways, the way that Monster Kody was able to articulate gang banging culture, he politicized it. He showed how, even in the beginning of Monster, he says, there is no GDP, there is no flag. I mean, you got the red flag, the blue flag, but ultimately, the war itself is centered around just who can take out the most bodies. It's a war over absolutely nothing. Because a lot of times, maybe in the 80s it was more about the dope game, and you need real estate to, pump and make your money, or as they call it in Detroit, rolling, to make your money. But now it's just, even more so than ever, it's a war over absolutely nothing. It's a lot of black men that are being cut down. But yeah, Monster Kody definitely served as an impetus for me wanting to expand my vocabulary, me wanting to read as much as I can. He inspired me to become a voracious reader. So anyone will tell you, I read anywhere from 4 to 5 books a year. This year I think I've read about 7. I got a couple more. Black Skin, White Mask, I got to finish. The Law of Human Nature by Robert Greene. I just read Burning at the Stake last week. It's an NAACP pamphlet. Maybe like 30 pages, nothing long, nothing crazy. But it had a lot of, the material in it was very heavy. Just because it was about lynching. But yeah, Monster Kody, R.I.P. Monster Kody, definitely a legend. But it's the homie Mac, music, art, culture, knowledge, each one teach one. Thumbs up, give me the likes, thumbs up, give me the likes. Signing out from the Dogon. I'm out.